Hi, my name is Jade Ortiz, and I will be discussing the beauty and importance of our coral reefs, the danger that they are in now, and what we can do to help save them. So, what are coral reefs? They are one of the most diverse ecosystems in the world, analogous to the tropics on land, hence the nickname rainforest of the sea. Coral reefs, when you break it down, are mainly composed of what are called coral polyps. Though they have many parts, what we are focusing on are the tentacles, labeled with the white arrows on the picture to the right. Those tentacles have a symbiotic relationship with algae called zooxanthella. Um, so this symbiotic relationship means that they depend on each other to survive. The corals provide necessary products for photosynthesis for the algae, one of them being carbon dioxide, while the algae provides corals the necessary products, in this case oxygen, which allows the corals to produce calcium carbonate, which is limestone to create the skeleton of the reef. This algae lives in the corals and is what provides corals with their magnificent color as well. Coral reefs, while only occupying 1% of the ocean floor, is home to over 25% of all marine life. They are essential to the existence of sea life and ultimately human life as well. But a lot of our actions today are threatening the existence of coral reefs. And there are many different factors that are contributing to the destruction of our coral reefs. Here's just an overview of what I will explain in the next few slides. The main stressors to our corals is and has been global warming and climate change in general. Pollution in its many forms and harmful fishing practices are also primary factors that are killing our coral reefs. Global warming and rising sea temperatures are making the ocean an unlivable environment for coral reefs. And obviously this is a problem because coral reefs can't just up and leave the ocean. And this is due to the air pollution and the increase of carbon dioxide in our atmosphere. The ocean absorbs that extra carbon dioxide, leading to what is called ocean acidification and eventually coral bleaching, something I'll explain in the next slide. All the runoff, sewage, and plastic that ends up in the ocean also creates a toxic environment for our corals, making them more vulnerable to the effects of ocean acidification. And I have sunscreen up there on the slide. Because while many people may not know this, sunscreen is also a common pollutant that ends up in the ocean. So when we go to the beach and slather on some sunscreen after it washes into the ocean, the chemicals in them contribute or can lead to coral bleaching as well. But it is specifically the sunscreens that contain those chemicals such as avobenzone, oxybenzone, and octisolate. These type of ingredients in sunscreen makes up what we call a chemical sunscreen. So I'll explain later in my solutions the other type of sunscreen that is more that is less harmful to coral reefs. The picture to the right is an example of what happens to corals that have been subject to ocean acidification, which is OA for short. And OA, in more technical terms, indicates a decrease in pH levels in the ocean. So what this means, I'll show. So in this next picture, it is a simplified example of the chemical reaction that occurs during ocean acidification. When too much carbon dioxide is absorbed, it produces carbonic acid, which depletes the chemical necessary for making the skeletons that I was talking about, the limestone, also affecting the ability for organisms to maintain their skeletons and shells. As a result, Also, the corals become bleached and become that terrible stark white color, as the algae living on the corals are no longer able to sustain the relationship with the corals. So here I have a simple picture of what happens during coral bleaching. So and when you see healthy coral, all those little bumps have the algae living on it. And when the coral becomes stressed, so when it's subject to the rising sea temperatures, the extra carbon dioxide, the algae leaves the coral. And after the algae leaves the coral has no more color and is left vulnerable to sickness and eventually their death. The surrounding marine life eventually leave also because the corals are no longer able to provide them shelter and food. In addition to climate change, harmful fishing practices also have a negative impact on the reefs, the two main ones being overfishing and cyanide fishing. Overfishing not only depletes the diversity of sea life living among the other corals, but in extreme cases can physically damage the coral reefs in the process. In other words, breaking the reef structure itself. Cyanide fishing is a method used to catch fish that may be hiding in the reefs and are hard to reach with a normal net. The top picture is an example of what cyanide fishing looks like. So cyanide tablets are dissolved in seawater, creating that milky white color you see, and is used as an asphyxiant, which chokes the fish to death. But that same cyanide is also another way to bleach the corals because of the harsh chemical. So, what can we do to help? Of course, there are many different ways we can prevent our corals from becoming damaged even further. So, certain solutions. Pushing certain legislation that benefit the coral reefs is definitely one solution. I was actually reading an article the other day proposing to ban sunscreens with the chemical oxybenzone from being used in ocean water near Hawaii. So that's a great start. Like I said, the sunscreen with the oxybenzone is harmful to the coral reefs. What they are proposing is to use what they call a mineral sunscreen that contains zinc oxide or titanium dioxide. Um, Another proposed solution involves physical coral restoration, so sending people to the damaged parts of the reefs and recovering broken pieces of coral to clean it up while also saving those pieces for future transplantation, or growing them outside of the ocean and then placing them back into the ocean to grow. But the biggest and most helpful things we could do all involve taking preventative measures against climate change. This can include recycling, reusing, using reusable water bottles, using public transportation or walking or biking to work or school, and being mindful of the products used and reducing your use of single-use plastic items. The solution to this issue, like many other issues, starts with us. No matter how big or how small, our actions are powerful tools that can be used towards creating a better tomorrow. Thank you.